Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, as probably most of you know by now, Joe Biden has called up 3,000 reservists to send them over to NATO. That's right, send them over to Europe, 3,000 Army Reserve it looks like, or just reservists. And this is probably even more important, they've recalled 450 guys that, well, they thought that they were done with their service, but their contracts still had a little bit of time left on them, and so they're being recalled, and they're also being activated into active duty. Most likely, most of these troops that are, because it's, in the end, we're talking 3,450 troops, not enough for, a war. Most likely, most of these are being called back up due to training, because there's been so much talk about how numbers are down and we don't have enough troops and we don't have enough, senior NCOs and enough experts in various fields to do training. And so the opinion is from a lot of people is that these troops are being called up for that. Joe Biden also has announced, man, that is just one sharp feller. You know that? That man is he's always thinking of stuff. He's always thinking of stuff and doing stuff. He's a doer. Man's just sharp as a knife. Anyways, he's announced another student loan forgiveness plan, this time $39 billion. This is just after a couple of weeks ago, where the Supreme Court ruled his last student loan forgiveness plan was unconstitutional. He pledged that he was going to figure out some kind of way around that ruling, and so now they've announced a $39 billion student loan forgiveness plan, which will be about 800,000 student loans. We'll see if that one ends up in Supreme Court, or if they figured it out this time of how to circumvent the law, because that's just what liberals do, folks. They circumvent the law. Also, that white powdery substance that was found at the White House, they have no clue. They have no clue. I mean, the security is that bad at the White House that they have no tapes, no video, no nothing. They just don't know. But don't worry, it's not just a white powdery substance, because Secret Service says they also found marijuana at the White House. So someone's doing blow and smoking the grass all at the White House. It's not really that it's that surprising. Do you think it's the first time that kind of stuff's ever been done at the White House? Nah, probably not. But, I think it's just, I don't know. I don't really know what to think. It's probably just more distractions in the news. Another one, and this may be the most important thing in the news, it's probably going to affect your lives more than anything, and I would guess that most of you care about this more than anything else, and that is Hollywood is on strike. I know, all your favorite TV shows and movies may be delayed because Hollywood's on strike. The concern with a lot of the actors, though, is that this may be the door opening for the movie companies to bring in AI and start using AI instead of the writers or the actors. We'll see if that happens. It may not happen this time around, but eventually, that all of the TV and the movie writing and even probably acting is going to be taken over by AI. That's probably just how things are going to go. I designed a t-shirt. Now, before anyone says anything, these aren't for sale. I don't know if I'll sell them or not. I was just playing around one day, had a friend design this, took a picture of me and made that, and I had a couple of them made just for some fun. Got my little logo there on the front. Get your house in order. I don't know. Depending on the feedback, maybe these will eventually be produced. Maybe they won't. But I thought I'd share them with you because, sometimes it's okay to have a little fun. Oh, a lot of stuff, folks. And it's happening at a rapid pace. I've been kind of racking my brain mostly, and I don't want to say too much OPSEC. I have to be careful. I have to be careful to put on different hats. One hat, I'm on here making videos for you folks, and then I have multiple hats. But another hat is that I have to be the leader of a local community and do the things that we do on that end. So trying not to go too far into the operational security of what we're doing there. I personally have been racking my brain about, our local preparations of getting things ready as best as we can, making the right assessments of our state of readiness, what is going on in the world today, and how that will directly impact us, and what kind of timelines. Are we do we really think that the grid could go down? Do we really think an invasion? And when I say invasion, that's not really the right word, but we're going to use it. Meaning the people that's already come across the border and that are being staged across the country to potentially, conduct attacks on either infrastructure, grid type stuff, or even us Americans. Or are we looking at World War III starting over in Europe with NATO's direct involvement, potential nuclear weapons, or all of that happening, and then they drop a CBDC on us, say that it has to happen. The U.S. dollar has been losing its value over the last few days, and some people speculate that it may be a continuing trend because, according to Russia, here in a month or so, we're going to start seeing some more forward movement with the BRICS gold-backed currency. And so if that continues to happen, will we just see the dollar little by little trickling downward to the point that they say, okay, we've got to do this CBDC if we're going to stay afloat? So I'm doing these assessments and trying to figure this stuff out, and it's difficult because you kind of go down one path and you think that this is what's going to happen, right? I'm just sure of it, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, what about this? This is going to happen, or maybe this is what's going on. The reality is it's all going on, and more. The very real possibility of another pandemic happening. Very real. We've got an election coming up, a little over a year. The last election, well, you all know what happened with that one. And I think, at least for many of you, and I know in my mind, the elections, I don't know if I can even say this, they're just rigged. That's just what they are. And if we believe that, then we have to know that the next one is. And whoever gets into office next time is most likely because it's rigged, even if it is Trump. My wife and I were talking about that yesterday, that, well, if they're rigged and the only people getting into office are people that they want there for a specific purpose, if Trump gets into office, then maybe they're rigging it for him to get in for a specific purpose. Maybe because if the system's rigged, if they have control over it, why would they not use that this time around? The point is, regardless of who gets elected, I think it's pretty safe to say that they kind of know who's gonna come out on top. And it's very possible that there could be events happening, kind of like the last time with the pandemic, that could make it easy for them to do their business when it comes to elections. So we've got a lot of stuff, folks. We've got things that could happen in the coming days or just the next few weeks. You look at some of these things, and I could easily see, and I'm not making a prediction, so please don't say that. I'm just saying, when you look at stuff, especially what's going on with Russia, and that sort of thing, I could easily see something very major escalating in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I see that that's a strong possibility. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but I see it's a possibility. Then you've got things, in the 6 to 12 month period. What could happen in the next 6 to 12 months? CBDC, some kind of major economic collapse, banking collapse, pandemic, and then beyond that 12 months, you're getting into the election, and so what's going to happen there? Are we going to be in the middle of World War III so that Biden could say, oh, we've got to suspend the elections because it's World War III and we've been attacked here on the homeland, we've got a grid that's been down or that's up and down, so elections are no more? Or will it be, oh, we've got an even worse pandemic where people really are dying from it? It really is happening. Who knows? Now, of course, the counter argument is that there's a possibility that none of these things happen, and you and I know that. And we shouldn't allow that to drag us down and to discourage us, because in the end, it's almost like a game of craps. You know, you're just trying to figure out, and you're trying to you land the best numbers. You're trying to make the best bet, and that's how it is. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. But we know in the end, what's the thing you should always know in the end when you're gambling, especially when you go to Vegas, you go to a casino. The house always wins. In the end, the house always wins. And so that's what we have to understand, is that some of these things we talk about may or may not happen. But in the end, the government, the elite, the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the World Economic Forum, the globalists, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be the ones that win in the end, most likely. Especially if you look at biblical prophecy and have any belief that we are kind of in those days of Noah end times, because it talks about the catastrophic destructions that we will have to face, the great falling away of believers, which we're seeing that happen. And so it indicates that that may be the time period that we're in, and if that's true, then we know it's just going to get worse. We know the end game. We may not know the trajectory and the path that we have to get to the end part, but we kind of have a good idea of what's happening in the end. And so we know we have to endure through that. And that's the hard part. That's the part that stinks. I know many of you are like, can we just get it over with? Like, just rip the Band-Aid off, drop the bombs, crash the dollar, you know, whatever it is, let's just get it over with. Let's get it on. I'm ready. I mean, just like my nails are dug in on the sofa seats. I get it. That's part of the deception in the psyop too, is to drag it out just enough that it causes the real patriots, because they don't worry about the far left. They know they got them under control. They don't worry about the ones that are asleep, because they're going to be consumed before they even aware of what's going on. The real worry is about you patriots. You know, one of the things that I completely agree with that Donald Trump said once is that they're not coming for him, they're coming for us. And that's it. They know that we are that part of their plan that they worry about. There's enough of us around the world. There's enough of us with military, law enforcement, or just training experience that we're working on it. And we have the you know, a lot of skills and a lot of equipment, as much as some people say we don't. We do. Around the world, to actually be a formidable, how do I say this properly on YouTube? A big stepping stone, a big stumbling block. That's it, a big stumbling block. And we have that capability, and they know that. And so I think a lot of this is to drag it out just long enough that folks like you and I tire of it, or it catches us off guard, or we start to lose, you know, kind of doubt ourselves. And so don't let that be a thing, because when you turn around and you look back over the last 3 or 4 years, you can see a very, very definite progression in this. And so even though it's not happening at the rate that you think it should, you know, I've seen so many people say, man, I figured by now we would have already been in World War III. I figured by now there would have already been another pandemic, or that all the banks would have already collapsed. I get it. I understand. But stick with it, because, you know, and don't give up. And be ready. Be ready. You know, the old Minuteman, you know, keep your powder dry. Be ready at a moment's notice. And that's what you need to be doing. That's why you need to be working very diligently towards your preparations and towards your ability to be self-sufficient, your ability to not, to be on your own and not be under the thumb of the system, of the supply chain, of the government. You need to be ready at a pretty quick moment to be able to switch everything on, make the plan go, and say, all right, I'm done. We're at that point. You've crossed that threshold. We're not going back at this point. And now game is on. because that's how it's probably going to eventually progress. Folks, it's serious, and you need to get your houses in order. When you look at all the things that are happening around us today, it's kind of hard to see it really any other way at this point. You need to be preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.